Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughn Manor, where you'll notice I'm not dressed up like Sherlock Holmes like I usually am on Saturday. That is because there's a little bit of housekeeping here. I'm moving my Sherlock Holmes videos into the week, so they're no longer Sherlock Saturday. They're just Sherlock Holmes in whatever story I'm doing. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I film Saturday on Friday, and Friday is my most difficult day. It's insane. It's always crazy Friday, which is why I always look disheveled on Saturday. I've always got the 8 o'clock shadow going on. So I thought from now on my Saturday videos, I would just do something that I didn't have to think too hard to make, like a top 10 video. And everybody loves those anyway, especially when you throw in movies. And that's what we're doing today. We're talking about my 10 favorite movies based on books. And I'm going to be using my newly acquired magic powers to put the posters up over here. If everything goes well, they will be floating over there somewhere. We will see. So yes, my 10 favorite movies based on books. I do like movies. I have to get back to watching movies again. I have to squeeze some films in somewhere. But I do have some favorites that I've watched over and over and over again. And a lot of these films that I'm going to be talking about right now are among those films. So, number 10, we're going to go 10 to 1 like we do on these lists. 10 is my least favorite to my most favorite. So 10 is going to be The Incredible Shrinking Man, based on the novel The Shrinking Man, written by Richard Matheson. It was released in 1957, directed by Jack Arnold. And it was actually pretty close to the original novel because Richard Matheson worked on the script. And it's just a great movie. I mean, a great 1950s, classic 1950s science fiction film. Has a good deal of action in it. Giant cats. Well, they're not giant. Just the guy's teensy. But, you know, it seems like giant cats, giant spiders, a whole giant world for this guy who's shrinking down. And it's a little bit deeper than most 1950s science fiction films, probably because it sticks so close to the book by Richard Matheson. And there's a lot of pretty heavy themes and ideas in that book. It's a great book. If you haven't read it, read that book. But certainly see the movie. Certainly watch The Incredible Shrinking Man from 1957 because it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. And now, number 9. What could it be? What couldn't it be? It has to be ReAnimator from 1985. ReAnimator from 1985. Fantastic movie. ReAnimator. I loved it. I saw it when I was 14, I think. Yes, I had to have been about 14. Don't ask me how I got into the theater to see this movie because this is some movie, let me tell you that. Be sure to watch this movie, and when you do watch it, be sure to watch the uncut version, which I'm not sure you can get streaming. I think maybe you can only get the rated R. Let me know if I'm wrong. But definitely, you know, pony up for the DVD or something. Get the Blu-ray on this one. You'll thank me later. ReAnimator, directed by Stuart Gordon, based on Herbert West Reanimator by H.P. Lovecraft. Of course, this is the film with the brilliant performance by Jeffrey Combs. This is the performance of his career, and he was amazing as Herbert West, which is why he kept coming back and doing it. But he was fantastic in this role. He's a great actor, Jeffrey Combs. We see him in Star Trek all the time. And it's always fun to see him. And of course, this movie also has the incomparable, the spellbindingly beautiful Barbara Crampton, who I love. She's fantastic. I'd love to see her in horror films. Barbara Crampton. So ReAnimator, definitely. It's worth it for the dead cat scene alone. Those of you who've seen the movie remember the dead cat scene, as well as all the other awesomeness. So much awesomeness in this film. So yeah, ReAnimator. And so, number 8, what could it be? It has to be, this is a personal favorite of mine, The Time Machine. So The Time Machine, this would be the 1960 version of The Time Machine. It's the good one, directed by George Pal and starring Rod Taylor, based on the short novel by H.G. Wells. They did make some changes. They did make some changes for the film from the story. But I think a lot of the changes really worked for the film. They changed the Eloi up a little bit. They kind of had to. But I'm glad they did because it worked. And they changed up the fate of the Eloi. It makes it a little bit more hopeful. The Morlocks, oh my goodness, they're terrifying. They gave me nightmares. Literal nightmares I got from this movie when I was a kid. Those are some frightening things. This movie has some scary moments when you're just a little fella watching it. And it does have an incredibly beautiful time machine. The time machine itself is a work of art. It's beautiful. Once you see it and you read the book, you will never picture the time machine any other way. That is what the time machine looks like in this movie. Fantastic film. So that brings us up to number 7, Blade Runner. Yeah, Blade Runner. Based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. Blade Runner, which is directed by Ridley Scott and of course stars Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer. Harrison Ford, fantastic in this movie. Brilliant movie, Blade Runner. I like it a lot more than the Philip K. Dick book. I like the book. And the book is probably more enjoyable when you forget that they made this movie off of it. But it's an incredibly well done movie. Really brilliant atmosphere, fantastic science fiction film. It's legendary for a reason. Not a big hit when it came out. And there's like 5 different versions of it now. They're all pretty good. Even the one with the voiceover is pretty good. That's the one that I knew for years. And it was a pretty good movie. So yeah, Blade Runner. That's a good film. So that brings me to number 6. What could it be? This is a personal favorite of mine. This is Excalibur, based on Sir Thomas Malory's Les Morts d'Arthur. Okay, that's a stretch. But it is sort of based on that. The story of King Arthur and his knights. And Excalibur is a crazy film. Excalibur, which was released in 1981 and directed by John Boorman. And has the amazing Helen Mirren in it. This is the movie that I fell in love with Helen Mirren. I've been in love with her ever since, really. Don't Tell the Lady of the Manor. But this is the movie that did it. She's just so wicked in this movie. And there's just amazing action, great costumes. I mean, none of it is historically accurate, but that's okay. Amazing performance of Merlin. I'm forgetting the actor's name who plays Merlin. I should have written it down, but it's amazing. I've seen Excalibur probably more than I've seen most movies. I don't know why I've seen that movie over and over and over again. I first saw it when I was a little small child on HBO or something, and I really shouldn't have seen this movie at that young of an age because I saw the real, rated R version of it. Loved it. I still love that movie. Yeah, Excalibur. Which brings me to number 5. What could it be? Spartacus. Yes. Spartacus, which is based on a novel by Harold Fast. Book is better. The movie is better than the novel. The novel's a little slow. Not bad. A little slow. But directed by Stanley Kubrick. So you'd think the movie would be a bit slow too, but it's not. It's actually pretty well paced. Really well done. Of course, Kirk Douglas is in it. Laurence Olivier is fantastic in it. And of course, Tony Curtis in Spartacus. Or as he would say, Spartacus. I love Spartacus. It's a really good movie. And not just for the gladiatorial scenes or the battle scenes. It's a really effective film. I found it quite touching when I first saw it. I didn't see Spartacus until I was in my early 20s, maybe. When was the anniversary edition of that movie come out? I don't remember. But yeah, it was great. And of course, Kirk Douglas, that is the movie he will always be remembered for. And Tony Curtis, man, he's great. What do you do? I'm a singer of songs. Ah, Tony Curtis. Fantastic acting in this film. Tony Curtis. Spartacus. I loved you like you was my own father, Spartacus. Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. You should see that movie, Spartacus. Which brings us to number 4. What could it be? Well, it's a movie with my very favorite actor of all time, Humphrey Bogart. It's The Big Sleep, which was released in 1946. Bogart and Bacall. This movie was directed by Howard Hawks. It's great. It's a great version of Raymond Chandler's Philip Marlowe novel. And Bogart is fantastic as Marlowe. He does not fit the description. He's a shorter, littler man than Marlowe. Marlowe's kind of a big guy. Tall, Marlowe. Not Bogart. But he fits the bill in every other way. He's great. The movie's really great. A little incomprehensible if you think about the plot too much. But really effective movie. I love it. I've seen it countless times. I think it's a great version of that novel. There is at least one other The Big Sleep film. There's another Big Sleep film I think that came out in the 70s. Don't watch that one. Watch this one with Humphrey Bogart and Bacall. Oh, classic in every way. You should watch that movie. Which brings us to number 3. The Bride of Frankenstein. Now, technically, this is a little iffy. Based on ideas from Frankenstein, there's some stuff from the novel by Mary Shelley in this movie, The Bride of Frankenstein, which was released in 1935. Korolev was brilliant in it. Directed by James Whale, who directed the first Frankenstein film. But this is a superior film. This is probably the best of the Universal horror movies. It's wonderful. Bride of Frankenstein. It's got some touching moments in it. It's got some brilliantly directed scenes. It's got some funny moments in it. It's got some just weird stuff. It is a superior horror film. Probably one of the greatest horror films ever made, in my opinion. I'm not the only one that has that opinion, but it's great, man. Bride of Frankenstein. Oh my goodness. Watch that movie. You probably have. Watch it again. That brings me to number 2. What could it be? Well, it's another movie that stars my favorite actor, Humphrey Bogart, so it's got to be the Maltese Falcon. The Maltese Falcon, released in 1941, based on the novel by Dashiell Hammett, directed by John Huston. I forgot there. Who directed? John Huston directed this movie. An incredible version of the Maltese Falcon. It's really, really close to the novel. I mean, dialogue is straight out of the novel. So it's one of those films where if you watch it, you get a pretty good idea of what the story is, because it's pretty much the same story. The novel feels a little different. Again, Bogart is not a physical match for Sam Spade, but he does a brilliant job as the character. Really, really great as the cynical Sam Spade. Amazing film. It's not just one of the best detective movies you'll ever see. It's one of the best movies you'll ever see. If you haven't seen, I keep thinking most people have to have seen this movie, but it's an old movie, and some people don't watch old movies because they don't put them on Netflix. So you have to actually go out of your way to see some of these older films. You should watch this movie. It's amazing. It's an incredible film. Everything is good in that movie, which is why I've seen it 900 times and will see it 900 more times. Great movie. So that's why it's number 2, but it leaves you to think, well, what's number 1? Now, number one is number one. Just personally, I love it. I'm not saying it's actually better than any of these other movies, because it's not. But I love it. I love it so. And that would be Planet of the Apes, which was directed by Franklin J. Schaffner. I wrote it down. Yeah, Schaffner, Franklin J. Schaffner, from 1968. The great Charlton Heston film, Planet of the Apes, which is based on the original novel by Pierre Boulle, which is a lot different. They really changed a lot of things in the film Planet of the Apes. I think most of the changes, if not all of the changes, actually make it a better story. So it's one of those rare movies, I think, that works better than the book does. The book is great. I like the book an awful lot. I just think the film's a little bit better. That could just be me. Because it's a big hunk of nostalgia goes along with this, because I loved all the Planet of the Apes movies when I was a little kid. Anytime they came on television, I'd watch them. Any of the Planet of the Apes movies, I would watch. And a couple of those movies are insanely violent. I mean, insanely so. And at the time, at least, they were rated G. I think Beneath the Planet of the Apes could be the most violent rated G movie ever. I don't know if it's still rated G, but it was when I was a kid. And Escape from Planet of the Apes, the ending of that movie traumatized me for years. For years it did. Ugh. I still have a hard time with that film because of the ending of that movie. Just brutal. But the original Planet of the Apes movies, that was excellent. And it has an ending which really shouldn't shock Charlton Heston, since all of the apes were speaking English. Since the apes were speaking English, he should have figured out where he was. I don't know. Maybe he had some brain damage when they crashed down or something. Who knows? Who knows what happened to poor old Taylor? But a lot of fun, that movie. I really love it a lot. So that is my number one movie based on a book. That was my list. My goodness, it went on for 17 minutes. I didn't expect this to go on so long. Thank you, my friends, for watching all this time. I will see you here for the Sunday Penguin. All right, guys, you have a great day.